I didn't pay my fine on time and got a discount for it. Not really malicious. But it's still funny how the police in my country can screw themselves out of money sometimes. Also, fines here don't have a set time for you to pay them. So the title is a bit of a clickbait. Okay, so I got pulled over by a cop yesterday. A routine check. Nothing fancy. Alcohol test was 0.00. All good. The cop goes back to his car, checks my documents and comes back with a comically large document binder. No idea why it was so large. But it was funny at the time. So I'm including it. Sir, could you please step out of the car? I need you to sign this document after I hand you your fine. At this point, I'm pretty annoyed, because not only do I have to leave the comfort of my shitbox, I'm going to have to pay money too. The guy hands me the fine. I glance over it, and something about it seems awfully familiar. But, since I was in a rush, I just sign and he lets me go. Fast forward to an hour later. At home. Me reading the fine again. XX. XX.20XX, the exact same place and exact same time as the fine I got in January when registering my current shitbox. A fine which should have already been registered is handed to me 5 months ago. Probably someone reading this. Okay, you got handed the same fine twice. So what? Quote. Well, let me explain. Where I live, by law, in the span of 2 weeks after a fine is officially handed to you, you get a 30% discount on it. Since I did not pay it the first time, I essentially lost my right for a pretty hefty discount. But since it was never registered in the system that it was handed to me, I essentially cheated the system and paid my fine just now, 30% cheaper and 5 months later. So, I guess the moral of the story is, don't pay your fines on time. You may just save a buck. If you don't pay in the US, you get a warrant with jail time and possible probation for even a petty $15 seatbelt violation. They will destroy your life for a $15 ticket if not paid within a certain time frame. I got a speeding ticket in February just before COVID hit and everything shut down or restricted hours. That meant my court date got pushed back. I had to reschedule a couple times due to my work schedule. But once it was back to normal, I called every other week to get a new court date. I was constantly told I'd be sent paperwork for a new date. Finally got tired of waiting and just went to pay it to be done with it all. I hand the clerk my ticket and she tells me my ticket has been subject to prescription. The state has a limited time to bring the ticket to trial or it gets dismissed, and thus couldn't be paid. Saved me almost $300. In Austin, Texas, and I'm guessing other cities too, paying for street parking for more than 3 or 4 hours is actually more expensive than the $20 to $30 parking ticket, if they even ticket you at all. It's literally cheaper to get a ticket that BTW does not go on your record after you pay it off. That 30% sound awfully familiar. It's the same in my country. What's funnier is that if you get caught by a camera they have to mail you your fine. The thing is though that they mail the shit 1.5 to 2 years later and the statute of limitations for traffic violations is 2.5 years, so you can just wait it out and not pay it. I was unemployed and got a $5 ticket. Alternate side parking. I couldn't pay. 3 months later I found it and it had ballooned to $35. I had a job. I sent it in. I got it back with a handwritten note that it was not in the system. I kept that in the car until I moved.
Where do you live?
Fine for what? This is terrible advice. Do not do this. Don't appreciate the clickbait. One time, I checked out a really expensive book from the library and lost it. They sent me something saying I owed $150 for not returning the book. But I was broke AF and didn't pay it. Then a couple years later, I'm moving a small bookshelf and discover that it fell behind the bookshelf. Also, coincidentally, the mayor had just announced a forgiveness program where all fees were waived if you just return your book. So I brought it into my local library and see a guy who used to be my neighbor. So I don't feel bad returning it to him and telling him what's up. However, once we check it in, we discover 1. My membership was non-existent. 2. There was no record of that book in the system. 3. There was no record of me owing $150. I had waited long enough that they just erased everything. So they just entered the book back in and reissued me a membership. Or, pay on time, and always save a buck? There's no compliance in this. At this point, I'm pretty annoyed, because not only do I have to leave the comfort of my shitbox, I'm going to have to pay money too. Quote, shitbox rolling on the floor, laughing, 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 rolling on the floor, laughing. Where I live, you get up to 50% discount if you pay your fine within a month. I got a registration violation once many years ago. I went to the city clerk's office. They told me I could either pay $25 for the fine and $95 court fees, or go before the judge to have a chance to get out of paying. I didn't have time for court and promptly forgot to pay the fine. So I get a letter a few weeks later saying the fine went up a lot due to late fees, blah blah. I finally get around to going to DMV to register and they say I need to pay the fine first. I ask, how much is it? And the clerk says it's $25. DMV didn't charge court fees or late fees. I paid and registered my car finally. Lucky you. Where I live, if it's not paid on time you get charged more. I ignored mine long enough. Get them down from $800 to $75. So paid my fine. Paid. Also, if you receive a discount for paying it later, why would anyone pay their fine on time? The incentive is to pay it later when it is cheaper. Must be a socialist country. Don't pay for your mistakes and get a discount. 30% discount is peanuts compared to the 80% discount for traffic offenses you get in Malaysia. It's almost an annual thing. I still have a couple of outstanding tickets from 10 years ago. They send me occasional reminders, but it goes directly into the trash. I got a speeding ticket in my home state of Mississippi 5 years ago. Never paid it. Haven't heard shit about it either. It's either faded away or I'm going to the slammer next time I get pulled over. I drive grandma speed just to be safe.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.